points if you didn't understand. But if I ask you tomorrow, if you're not saying that is not acceptable. First one is compiler. The name itself, it was saying that compile. So what it will do is, compiler will do two things. One, it compiles the code. Compiles means what? This is called code, right? Whatever you have been written here, this is called code. Now, compiling the code means it will check if there is any particular errors are there in your code. Any syntactical errors. Syntactical errors means anything mistake. So, for example, you remove the semicolon, you remove the system after println dot. You give any particular syntactical errors. See, in English, we have the grammar mistakes, right? When you do that grammar mistakes, the teacher will correct, right?
Yes.
Here also it is same. So now this is, if at all you have been checked for any particular syntactical issues in the compiler, then the compiler basic responsibility is to do two things. One is to compile that particular code, means it will be checking any syntactical errors are there in the code. And second, the job of this one is to translate this particular file from .java to .class file. Excellent, right? So this guy is a translator. Yesterday we talked, right? So when we go for Spanish, so now I went for Spain. I wanted to see the places. I wanted to recruit a guide. So now what I'll try to do, I'll translate him in English. So means I'll explain it in English, and then the other translator will translate into the Spain, so that we can have conversations and he can take me to all the places or whatever the things I wanted to do it. So now this is like a translator. Compiler does two things. Always remember that compiler will do two things. It will check the syntactical errors, and then it will convert the .java file to .class file. What do you mean by class file? I'll let you know. In the meantime, I'll first want to complete this. Compiler will compile the complete code, but interpreter, see now, there is a compiler and interpreter. Compiler will be used in Java, interpreter used in Python. What it will do is, it checks line by line. If there is any error, immediately it will throw there. But compiler will not do that. Before executing the program or before running the program, it will compile all your code. Means it will check any syntactical errors are there. Then it will throw me the errors. So this is called a compiler. And it will, means interpreter will check line by line of code, and then it will throw the error. So that is called interpreter. Usually the people will ask the difference between, like, tell me the interpreter and the compiler. Okay. And here, now I'll not spend more time on the interpreter, because as of now, we are talking only from compiler, because Java uses only compiler. In compiler, we do two activities. One is compilation, which is called identifying the syntactical errors before you execute. Until unless you execute it, it will throw you an error message pointing that, hey, this is error. But when you start to execute it, so then all your errors will be printed. That is what compilation. So when you start your execution, first it will compile the code, and then it will start doing the execution. Now, when it compiles, so it identifies the syntactical errors, right? Same time, it converts this .java file into .class file. Now, .java file, what it consists of? It is a human readable language. Human readable language, int f, I, z, z, u, l, y. So these all are human readable languages, right? So at that point of time, this is in the Java file, but whereas in the class file, it converts into the byte code. See, step number one, because this is a common language, right? This is a human readable language. That is what Java is called as a high level language. Now, that need to step by step, it need to convert into the assembly language. Now, to convert into the assembly language, see now, there is a difference between an assembly language and the byte code. Okay. So now, I don't want to get into that particular differences now. because it's almost near. So now if you wanted to see the byte code who is sharing, Hafiz, can you quickly open your browser? And in the browser type byte code. See, you're seeing it the byte code, right? Okay, now click an image. See, these are the byte codes. You're seeing it, right? So now every, how the byte code will be converted or how the byte code is derived, that is not our responsibility. Okay, don't get worried. So now if you see here, this is how it would be there. Byte code would be like this. Okay, so don't worry too much. Now I wanted to see the byte code, original byte code. I don't want to see these pictures. It is very simple. As I told you, compiler will already converted your .java file into class file. Where it is converted, let's see it. Okay, give me the control, Hafiz. Okay, if you see here now, this is the project, right? Give a right click on this. When you give a right click, properties will come. Click on the properties. And once you click on the properties, resources. Under the resources, where this particular project is stored. It is stored in Dell Eclipse Workspace Hafiz. Just you have this yellow mark, right? Click that one. It will take you to the folder. Directly the folder. Because now everything is stored. Let's see, somewhere else it needs to be stored. That's where whatever the code you're writing here, that should be stored. Now, if you wanted to see where this is exactly stored, means just what you need to do. So just give a right click and then properties and resource location system. If you wanted to see on this one in the System Explorer where it is. Click on Hafiz now. Now in the Hafiz, if you see here, the complete project structure is this. You create any project. You create any project in the system definitely it will come and then stores over here. Okay, now let's see source. Under source, I have data types, Hafizullah, and variables. Now, if I open under the variables, I can see the variables.java file. This is the file same he is opening. I'll just open that and then show it to you. You have you should have always Notepad++ or Sublime. So this will help you. You see it? The same thing which whatever he have written here. So now .java file. You see it, right? This here it is. So here is place the where it all stores. Now, once I completely understand, now this is where the source files. In all the source files, I can see whatever the files he have written. I can see that one. Now, if you come to here, a bin folder. Now, if you see here, this is source folder. Now, this is bin folder. Come to the bin folder and you just come here, variables. See, .class file. Hey, variables.java, here I have it. I know this Java, how this will be cleared and converted. This is how the compiler will create this one. And just open with you said this is your byte code. Can you understand? No, it is not really possible. It is not really required for us to understand this one, because if something is there very clearly, we can understand on this. So that why I should really require to know about this one. Okay. Why this? What I'll try to do? Hey, I deleted it. Is it okay? Let me try. Can you see it right now? This folder is empty. Now it is empty, right? Now, can you run again this? Oh, I can run it. Class not found exception.
Sir, when we save and rerun it, it should run, no?
It will run. Just hold on. So what you need to understand is what you meant by compiler. So compiler will compile the code. It identified if there is any syntactical errors, and it will help you to execute before running the program. And once it started, before starting the execution, it will create the particular. It can create you to exit. Means it will try to execute, and then it will convert the .java file into this one. Why it's not executed? Okay. What we can do is build a clean and it is clean this one. Yes. Okay. Just give me 1 second. I tried one thing. Let's go and see how that looks. Yes. Then see, it is created the dot class file already. You seen it, right? Before that, I have deleted that. Now, if you see here, run 21 means at this point of time, this particular file has been generated. Okay. Now, let's see once again, execute it and then see it. It is also executing. What is the magic we have done? We have done this particular cleanup. Okay, so did you see it, right? After I have deleted this particular file, but when once again I have been compiled, so immediately this would be once again it will be created for me. So always you need to remember that. So this particular class file, whenever we are executing, so that this particular file will be overridden. Why it should need to be overridden? Because, for an example, now I have been added some more statement over here. If I wanted to say that Java is fun. Okay, so now when I have been given here, so now this is taken. So now previously the code will have this. Now I added one more line here. Now when I added this one, so now that file need to be once again compiled, right? The dot class file need to be regenerated again, right? So that is what we need to do it. So always what this particular clean will try to do is clean will remove or it will clean your project. It will delete that particular files and then it will make use to run this particular project again. So now for an example, so now if you see here, so now what it has been done is it created the project and it rebuilt that particular project. What do you mean by build clean? So all these things would be, you'll be getting confused. Okay, you forgot about that clean build and all. So now what is the basic point that you need to understand is when it comes to a compiler, so compiler will perform two activities. One, it will check the syntactical code, and then next one, it will translate .java file into .class file. So now, once this particular the .class file will be in the byte codes, and .java file will be our normal class file. So when you compile, during the compilation, these two activities will happen. This is what the step number 1. Any questions here? This is called a compiler. If someone asks you a compiler will help you. It compiles the code, which means it can identify It compiles the complete code and identify if there is any syntactical errors. And it also convert .java into .class files. So where in .class files, it will be having the complete byte code. This would be the answer for a compile. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Now the next one
Sir,
is
one question. Sir, while checking for the syntactical error, if suppose it finds some syntactical error, in that case also it will transform that .java file into .class file.
that's it. See, now there is some problem in your certificate. You made a Xerox. What it will happen? Will
The
it come or not?
problem, yeah.
Same. It's like a Xerox machine converting into another duplicate form, another form.
No matter what, both the action will be done.
No matter. That's it, right?
Okay.
Now, this is what a compile. Now, let's come for JVM. What do you mean by JVM? JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine. So now, what is this Java Virtual Machine? Now, we have been created the byte code, right? When you created this particular byte code, this would be given to the JVM. So in JVM, we will be having other components, byte code, verifier, and JIT compiler, just-in-time compiler. Like that, we will be having it. Okay, internal components, it is not really required. You consider that it was given to the JVM. Now, what JVM will do? JVM will convert into the low-level language or machine language, or you can say that assembly language. It converts into the assembly language, and this language or this code will be given for the operating system. So now this is the reason. This is the reason Java is called as a platform independent. Now you understood, right? So why yesterday also we are discussing about one particular point. Ora, write once, run anywhere. That means you can write your code at one point and then you can execute your code anywhere else wherever you have been required for it. Means, so now what is the advantage of this one is this particular JVM will convert that one into the assembly language. Now, once it is into the assembly language, it really doesn't matter. So now either it is Windows or Mac or any operating system, it doesn't matter for it. So that is how Java is a platform independent. If someone asks you how Java is platform independent, means with the help of a compiler, Java.class file will be converted into .class file, and .class file, which is having the byte code, is an input for the JVM. Now the JVM will consist of this particular code. It will take that particular byte code into the JVM and it will convert into the low-level language or the assembly language. And then this particular assembly language, the code in which it converted, it will give to the operating system. So this is how this particular things will be working on. So that's where it is called as a platform independent. Now I can give it to any operating system. I write my code anywhere. See, I write my code in Windows. When I compile the code, it converts into the low-level language so that it can be understandable by the Windows or Mac machine or wherever it required. So this is how this particular thing will work on. So if you see here, we have been taking two things. One is compiler and JVM. JVM takes the byte code, convert into the low-level language. This is a second translator. So this means what it translates the byte code into the low-level language. This is called a JVM. The purpose of the JVM is this. Any questions? Now, what is JRE? See, always remember Java runtime environment. If someone asks you what is JRE means, it's not that to expand this one. If they wanted, you can expand and give the definition. It means you need to explain the concept for them. Now, what is JRE means? Now, there means for an example. Now, this is what our JRE. JRE consists of JVM plus some libraries. I didn't understand. What do you mean by libraries? What is JRE? Java Runtime Environment. Means if you wanted to execute your program, you need to have some environment to run your programs, right? Now, this is what your program. This is what your program. I wanted to run your, means you wanted to execute your program, right? Who will be executing your code? JRE. Actually, not really JRE. The real JRE will provide you the platform where you can go and execute your program. Example, you know, Indian Idol. Indian Idol is a platform where all the singers can go and then sing the songs. D. So D is a platform where all the dancers will go there and then platform. They will do the dance and they give the performance. That's the platform. The same way, JRE is an environment where you can go and execute your code. To execute your code, some libraries I should require, right? Where these particular libraries will be there. If you see here, as soon as you have been created any new project, by default, Jre System Library would be created. If you see here, these all, with the help of all these particular libraries, you are going to execute your particular program. This is called JRE. So now what exactly it will happen? Just imagine JVM will convert, means it will take the, means when you write the Java code, it converts the byte code and give it to the JVM. JVM will convert into the assembly language, and with this libraries, it will try to execute the program. That's it. Very simple, right? Purpose of the JRE. So now, once again, I'll explain it. So now we convert the .java file into the .class file. Once it converts the .class file, it gives the input as the JVM. JVM converts into the low-level language, and then with the help of this particular libraries, which it was written by Sun Microsystem, so that with the help of this particular libraries, it can be executed. So this is called JRE. Now, what is JDK? JDK consists of JRE plus some development activities. What is this particular development activities? Now, development activities are nothing but, for an example, you compile your code, you execute your code, you're building your code, you're generating the results in your code. So these are all the development activities. Means you'll be writing your code, right? And you're compiling your code, you're executing your code, you're getting the results, you're generating the resources and something, all things are there, right? So now development, all the development activities will fall into the dev activities. So JRE plus development activities, it is called as JDK when it is called as Java Development Kit. So that is the reason now you download a JDK, not JRE. By default, inside the JDK, we have the JRE. So that's the reason when you install, so you install JDK, inside the installation of your JDK, you will be having your JRE. We can only install JRE. There is that option also. But there, you can't develop your code or enhance your code. Just it will help you to run your program. Only you can execute the programs. Previously, we used to have the first testers, we used to have it because we will not develop. But nowadays, we write our own code. So that's the reason we need to have the JDK also. So we write the code, we debug the code. So now we write the code, debug the code, compile the code, execute the code, get the result. All these are called as development activities. So this is called JDK. So JDK consists of JRE, and JRE consists of JVM plus libraries. So Java Development Kit and Java Runtime Environment. So we have discussed 4 terminologies: compiler, JVM, JDK, JRE. Any questions? If you understand, see now, is it complicated to understand? And if you go for a basic interview, they say, if they ask you JDK and Jre, if you're not able to explain them, see, now you know that how this particular file would be executed, right? So hey, I have .java file. I convert this one into class file. This class file consists of byte code. I given it to the JVM. JVM convert it into a low-level language or machine language so that it can understandable the operating system. And with the help of this particular Jre, I'll execute the program. I'll get the output. So I use this JDK. That's the reason I can write my code, compile my code, execute my code, generate the result, report. Everything will be generated on this one. So this is how it will work. That's right. This is how Java works. Is it complicated to understand how simple it is? Any questions in? See, always remember compiler versus JVM versus Jre versus JDK. This is really very important question. Okay. See, this is not like our examinations. So everything would be in a realistic. In interviews, once you go, the people will ask you these questions. So definitely at that time, you will recollect these all pointers. Okay, any more questions on this? Are we clear? Yes, no?
So,
Yes, sir.
so
Okay, so now we have been discussed about these things. Now, next, see now that's the reason whenever I created a particular project, then this will be created with the Jre. Now let's see how to create a project. File, I can go new, and in the new I have the Java project. Else, I can give a right click here. In the right click, new Java project. Otherwise, it's up to you. Both are same. And you can create the project. And always you remember when you're giving the project name should start with the capital letter. Okay. And if you have the extension for a project, it should follow by the underscore. You shouldn't give spaces. Always remember that you need to have, this is called snake notation. Means everything would be carried out with an underscores. Now, so I have been created with a project name, and then I can go for the remaining things. You can keep it the same. So now you are using the Jre of 1.8 version. SE means standard edition. And just you are trying to click next. And the project would be created in this structure. That's it. The project created. You see here one more pointer. So whenever you created a Java program, in this particular Java program, here you can see it as J. Hey, all we can create Java program from it. No. There are different kinds of projects out there. If it is a Maven project, it will come as M. So that's the reason you should always remember that it is a Java project. It gives the notation of this. Now, this is project name. We see in the project name. Now, once after the project name, see this is the tree. Okay, I wanted to, this is opening the tree. This is a closing the tree. I open the tree. Now, if you see here, this folder is empty and this folder is what the library. I told you, right? Jre library, which it helped to execute your programs.
So
right?
every project will have its separate Jre libraries.
That is what every project will have. It will create that. See now, this project will have its library to execute this project, and this Jre will be for this project. Okay. Now, once
and I mean in that it is only empty folder.
this is empty folder. See, if there is something, then we'll have this arrow mark. This is empty folder because we didn't create anything, right?
Yes.
So now this SRC is called as source folder. Always you remember, this is source folder. Now just give a right click, go to the properties, and you just click on this one. You can see that it opened. See now, that was created dummy mummy, and in this particular dummy mummy, so this is src empty. I didn't create anything. So now if you come back here, bin empty, because nothing. So if source is nothing, how can we have something in bin? Now let's close this. Come back here. Now this is called project name, and Jre library, and source folder. Source folder is nothing but. See, now this is the source of energy towards sunlight. Now this is a source code, means this is a main code. We are wanted to say that this is a main code. We are saying that, right? Now in this particular source code, now I'm going to create certain. See, now these are the standards. Now I wanted to create a package. So now the package name, how I should write this one. First of all, what do you mean by a package? Then I can know that how to create that particular package. Packages are nothing but, for an example, I wanted to go for devotional trip, so that I can go for Tirumala, and then I can go for Kanipakam, and I can go for Kalahastri, and then I can go for Vellore Golden Temple. Like that, I can plan it the complete devotional trip. Now I wanted to go for something bachelor trip. I usually go for Pondicherry or Goa or something. If we have more budget, then we can go for out of country. And if it is a family trip, so we'll be going for some beautiful islands, Eloniada or Fifi or like that. So it all depends. Now you will be having that package, means according to that particular classification. See, when it is a devotional trip, I'll only go for temples, not for others, right? The same way, packages are helpful for making the things grouped and classified. It's a group of files, then these things are called as a package. Classification means this is a devotional trip, or this is a family trip, this is a bachelor trip. So now we'll be having these trips. So you are trying to classify that particular trips. So now this is what called as a package. And even you booking your cars and all those things also be related to that particular package. Like that would be the same. Now how to name the package? Always you should remember, package names should be in small letters. And you're doing this one for Amazon. Now when you open Amazon, it will come as amazon.com, right? So now that is a com at end, right? It starts with com. Com means company. That's a short form of a company. .com, .in India, or incorporation. Okay, so now com.amazon. And what is this classification name? Is it a family trip or a bachelor trip? We'll be writing it, right? So now this is like a dummy. Means dummy files. You'll be giving this. This is how. Means first the company name, and then what classification is this? Just give me 1 second. Bagu. Bhagat. Which windows open this and close this and okay, I'm sorry. So now you can have the company name, and then what is that particular classification about, so that you can create that. So now always remember, package names should be small letters, and it should be the company name and the classification of the package. Thank you. So now if you see here, I'll finish it. So now where I created in this source, under the source, I created a package. Package is a classification of a files, grouping up of a files, which is related to the similar type or similar classification or similar project. I created a package. Under this particular package, I'll be creating my class. Just always right click, new, go here, a class. Now, always remember, class name should start with capital letter. You can say that dummy 1. Okay, that's a name of the class which I wanted to give it. And you should wanted a main method into this one. What do you mean by main method? It is very simple. You wanted to start your bike, you will be having a key, right? Same way, when you wanted to execute something without main method, I can't execute that. Now, if you see here, I created a class with a main method. Now, the same way, if I wanted to create another class, new, same class, capital name, and I don't want to give the public static void main, you can create it. Just we have been created. But here, there is no main method, but here, there is main method. So that I can't execute something here. Why? Because there is no main method. Without keys, can you start your bike? I connect the wires internally. That is not the way. Can you properly start your bike? No. So even without main method, I can execute the program. That is different story. Anyways, that you'll learn later. But now, without main method, can I execute anything? No. Okay. Always remember, if I wanted to delete this line, Control D. I can't record from here. It's a remote machine. So Control D would delete that particular line. Now what I wanted to do is out. Okay. And see SYSO Control spacebar. That's it. What is the shortcut key? SYSO. Always remember SYSO Control plus spacebar. If I given it, it will give me the statement. Now I wanted, this is a, see, it was throwing me the errors because these are running words, right? So now what I need to do, I need to comment this. For commenting, what is the shortcut key? Or commenting, how I can do? Commenting, how I can do?
/.
That is the reason I asked you to prepare and come for the session.
Double backwards.
Double
Bars,
double slashes, sir.
double slashes.
Forward slashes.
See,
Forward slash.
just you need to go, you click the control button and forward slash. It comes here. Shortcut keys. Always learn the shortcut key. It will be very useful for you. It will help you to fasten up your program writing. Okay. Control slash, it can remove this, and control slash, it will gives you the command. Now you can see it. You have been written this one, and here just you will come here. And anything you are going to written, this is a string. That's a normal statement, right? That should be in the double quotes. That's it. I have been given it. Now I need to run the program. If I wanted to run the program, give a right click, and here we'll have run as and Java application. I can run it from here. Point number 1. No, I can directly click on this one to run. Or I can have a shortcut key, Control F11. Always remember, Control F11. It will start to execute the program. These are always use the shortcut keys. And you see it, it was asking me that, hey, before starting, you need to save that particular file. I'll click OK. Boss, this is easy. Printed. That's it. What I did, I created a project. By default, Jre System Library will be there. I have my source folder. Under source folder, I created my package. Under my package, I created a class with a main method. In the main method, I created my sys.out, and then I wanted to created this, and then I done that. What is criticality here? How easy is this? Is it difficult to execute this one? Just created the project, created your source, created your package, created your class file with the main method, and then executed. It started executing it to me. Now, outside this particular method, I can take this one. Now, if I keep it here, Will it execute it? By default, it was giving me an error. What is error? Syntactical errors. Always you remember that whatever the statements you're going to execute, that should be inside particular method only. What is a method? Method is nothing but it's a steps of instruction. It's a group of steps of instructions to perform an activity. Somewhere else you have been listened this particular definition. You remember for a test case we discussed the same thing, right? Don't worry, we will have a vigorous section to discuss about the methods and the functions. As of now, you can forget about this. So now I just commented this line. Now, another important pointer, which you guys need to remember that. I created my class name as dummy1, means my file name and my class name, always it is same. See, dummy1, dummy1. Okay, now I'll give this one as dummy666. See now, as soon as I change my class name, it's throwing me error. So whenever you got an error, just directly go here, hover that. When you hover means just you're keeping on that. Now it will give me two names. Rename the file to this, means hey, change the file name to 666 or rename the class to type to dummy1. I will change the file name. You see here by default the dummy666. Always remember, class name and file name would be same. If it is not same, then it will be not executed. Many of the people will do this mistake because I did the same things. Now, we shouldn't have main name with the class name. People, what they will try to do is they will give it as a main. This is a keyword. We shouldn't use this main for the class names. And we will try to execute outside the statement. See, now you need to understand, this is class. The scope starts from this flower braces to this flower braces. Now this is a method. Inside a class, we will be having multiple methods. Now this method starts from this braces to this braces. So now any statement, any particular methods should be inside a class and any statements should be inside a method. If you declared any statements outside like this, that would be not under the scope of executions. That should be inside a method. Now, see, now this is inside a method means this is the braces of this method, right? Now everything and anything should be over here. That should be in this particular braces, not in the outside the braces, which you guys need to understand on this. Let's just give me 1 second, please. That is class on agenda. Class end. Okay. So now you seen it, right? So always remember that the statements shouldn't be outside this. And you always remember this is class. Class consists of multiple methods. The scope of the class is from this braces to this braces. And the scope of method is from this braces to this braces. And this is a main, if you wanted to execute any method, so execution will start from the main method. And I can create another method also. Now for an example, it's not working for me. Always method name should start with small letters. And method will have the braces. And it will be having the closes. SYSO. Now I'll just command this particular main method. I wanted to execute this. Can I execute this? What it will print? What it will print?
This is awesome.
This is awesome.
So you guys are not following me.
It will not execute anything,
not
sir,
execute anything.
because it's not inside the main.
See? Did it execute anything?
And
Because I don't have my main method. So how this would be executed? Okay. Now what it will print? Now what it will print?
Boss, this is easy.
Easy.
It will print both, sir. Boss, this is easy and this is awesome.
no, it will only print boss that is easy.
Yes, it will print only boss, this is easy, because inside mine there is only boss, this is easy.
That's it. Inside main, it is saying that only boss, this is easy. How it will be printing this? Without I'm calling Shruti, you will be responding to me. Then without calling, how that would be printed for me? Okay, how I wanted to print this? Just call. If I call Shruti, Shruti will be responding to me. Same way, I'll call that particular method. And always you remember that any statement in Java should be end with semicolon.
Yes.
What it will print now?
It will
print
print
This is
both,
awesome.
sir.
This is
Easy and
Boss,
awesome.
this
both.
is easy.
Both. It will print both. See, now you see the first line of the statement is this. It will print this. Then this particular dummy method. Then it will come and then it will print it to me. Now you create multiple methods. Call that particular multiple methods from the main method. Execute that. Show to me. Is it not simple? See, always you remember. And another biggest mistake I used to do. Always I used to do. When I was trying to learn. I can call the method inside a method, but I can't create a method inside a method. See now, this is called method creating, right? I can call that particular method, but I can't create a method inside a method. And I used to create this one and I didn't understand why this particular method is. That's what is it? See, it is saying that illegal parameter for this. I didn't understand what do you mean by this. Some methods, some error messages are not so clear for us. Always you remember, this is a method and this is also a method, but this is main method. Main have main importance. And these are, we created this. This is system method. And it is like an igniter where you can start all your executions. Now this is dummy methods. Now you can create these methods and then you can call that method to get executed. And don't change the signature of this same public static void. Don't change this. I'll let you know what is the static, what is this public, what is this void in the later on. But as of now, you create all public static void methods. Call inside that method. Use it. That's enough. Now tell me, is it really difficult? How simple it is creating the multiple methods. Now what I'll try to do, I'll try to do 5-6 methods here. I wanted to delete this. Control D. Okay. Now I wanted to call. Hey, it was not accepting. You see it in a class. I shouldn't allow the same names. For an example, I have now 2 Shrutis in session, M Shruti and K Shruti. So I should call, if I call Shruti, it will not, they will not understand which Shruti you're asking. So one Swati said, right, you need to call me Swati, because we have a couple of Swatis here in the session, right? The same way. Now, when we have multiple people, multiple methods with the same name, I should have a different names first. Now, what I'll try to do, I'll say that this is add method, and this is sub method, and this is mul method. It's multiplication. Just I'm saying that mul, and this is div method. Okay, I can use div method. Now what I'm doing, this is addition. This is subtraction, and this is multiplication. This for I know that I'm doing the same routine work, but still for your clear understanding, I'm trying to do this. This is division. Now, what I wanted to do, I wanted to call these all, right? So just I copy the method names. I'll put it over here. And all method names, any statement should end with that semicolon. So now I'll be giving this one. And I'll be giving this one. What it will happen now? What it will print for me?
Boss, this is
Oh,
easy.
the-
This is
It will print all the
addition,
methods.
All the methods.
This is addition, subtraction.
Now you know Java very well. That's it. Is it hard? You can do whatever you wanted to do it, you can do it. That's simple. This is how the main method works, and this is how these methods will be works, and this is how it will be calling it. Now, if you understand, this is the project name, these are the Java Jre libraries, and this is what our source folder, this is what our package, and this is what our class names into this particular the class names with the classes. So we'll be having our code, and into our code we'll be having main method, and a class consists of multiple methods. If you see here, every method will start with their open close braces. And that is the scope of method, and this is the scope of a class. If you double click on that, you can see the scope of a class. And if you double click on your method, that is what your scope of a method. This is called scope of a method. The boundaries of the method. And this is the boundaries of the class. Boundaries of main method. So main method will help you to execute your programs, and you can create number of methods, call that methods into the main method, and you can execute and you can see it. That's enough. It's not at all a big deal at all. Just it is practice. And you do always remember that if you're not getting errors, then you are not in the right direction. It's not meant that you need to wantedly get the errors, but whenever you get the more number of errors, take that particular error, go to Google, browse it, get fixed it out. Never you depend upon the people. So, okay, I don't want to go into this discussion. To make it faster, quicker, the first pointer is, I'm saying once again, if you're missing to the classes and coming back and saying that I'm absent for the previous days, I don't know what to do, how to do these things, not acceptable. When we said that it need to be completed, it need to be completed. And second pointer, whatever the assessment we have been given, that should be done. Don't come up with the reasons. See, if you want me to give, I give 1099 reasons. But only one intention we should have it. We need to complete this. You should write the program in your paper and then present it. So that is where that shows that you are interested. And don't tell me that I didn't do it, I'll do it afternoon, I'll do it tomorrow, and if you're postponing the things, the exercises what you need to do every day, you need to do it. If you miss this exercise,